Hey guys, just a quick little note before we start the show here. Obviously, everything I'm covering today pales in comparison to the horrible situation that Damar Hamlin, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, Damar Hamlin's family have all gone through after the tragic events on Monday. Thankfully, as I'm recording this, it appears that Hamlin has made some very remarked improvements. He's progressing well, he's been responsive, he's still breathing with the assistance of a tube, but it seems that his condition is improving and he's shown no neurological damage. Still, obviously, he's not out of the woods yet, so it would still be best to keep him in your thoughts and prayers at this time. And, if you could, donate to his GoFundMe to support his mother's daycare center in purchasing some toys for needy children. I'll be providing a link in the show description. And now let's go on with the show.
Madden holiday is here and we will play all night. Calling sick and sound sincere, in tackles will delight. The fridge is packed with drink and meat. The taste of victory sure is sweet.
Okay, so we're doing something a little bit different this week. Instead of looking at 3 specific games, we will actually be looking at the playoff clinching scenarios. First, we'll be tackling the group where it's basically win and in, or in other words, mainly just the wild card. And then we'll be looking at the contests that affect the seeding in the playoffs. Now, just a few things here before we start. First things first. Yes, I was thinking about doing this before the events of Monday night. They really did not play into this whatsoever. 2, yes, because of the events of Monday night, we are going to have to address a big elephant in the room here that, again, pales in comparison to those events. And lastly, no, we're not going to be all doom and gloom here. We're still going to have some fun, and yes, there'll still be some old commercials, so let's get to it.
Chris Berman for Bud Bowl Update. It's been almost a year since that controversial fumble gave Budweiser the win in Bud Bowl 2. Bud Light has struck back by making quarterback sensation Bud Dry its top draft choice. Big and bold with that rifle arm. Bud Dry is the coolest thing to hit the BFL since Budway Joe. Will Bud Dry sign in time for Bud Bowl 3? Bud Bowl Update will keep you informed as this all-important story develops.
Now you can be as clever as Kevin with Tiger's new TalkBoy tape recorder.
Stop drooling on me. Stop drooling on me.
It even has speed control.
Hi, kids. We're home early.
Hi, kids. We're home early.
Tiger's new TalkBoy tape recorder comes with audio cassette.
Hiya, pal.
Look for Home Alone 2, available now on video.
Sunday, the show everyone's talking about roars back. 10-speed and brown shoe.
Okay, so like I said, in this segment, we're going to be tackling the clinching scenarios, as I call them. Basically, these are the games that are going to affect the wildcard spots in the AFC and NFC. Or, to be more precise, the last wildcard spot in the AFC and NFC. So, yeah, basically both conferences are down to the last available slot in terms of the wildcard, unless something else happens. Every other matchup involving the playoffs right now just involves seeding, which we'll be tackling in the next segment. We're going to start with the NFC because, well, that's just really the easiest to explain. Right now, the Seattle Seahawks do occupy that final wildcard spot. However, if they defeat the Rams on this Sunday, it's not going to matter too much because if Green Bay were to beat Detroit, that would actually give Green Bay a better overall conference record, or to be more precise, a better overall record against the conference, which would allow them to use that tiebreaker to get into the wildcard spot. The Detroit Lions do still have a chance of their own, however, they need the Rams to beat the Seahawks, and then they themselves need to beat the Packers on Sunday night. Now, it isn't entirely out of the realm of possibility that the Rams can beat the Seahawks. They have traditionally just had the Seahawks number in these games, so again, it wouldn't be too surprising if something like that happened, but I definitely would not put that in the certainty category. Then again, I've been down the road with the Lions in these types of scenarios on several occasions, and it never really follows through. You know, they could just fix all their problems if they beat Green Bay in Green Bay. They could win a division, they could host a playoff game, they could qualify for the playoffs, anything of that magnitude, and it rarely comes up in the Lions' favor. In fact, I think the only time it really did, Aaron Rodgers was hurt and out for the season, and Green Bay just wasn't that good that year. So, yeah, overall, I'm guessing the Green Bay Packers are going to win that game, and even if Seattle wins, it doesn't mean anything because the Packers would clinch outright. So, yeah, I'm picking the Packers to clinch that one. Moving on to the AFC, this is where things get a tiny bit more complicated in more ways than one. Right now, the New England Patriots occupy the final wildcard spot and would clinch it with a victory over the Bills. If the Patriots were to lose that game, then it would come down to either the Miami Dolphins or the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Dolphins were to beat the Jets, they would clinch that final wildcard spot. However, should they lose to the Jets, that would leave that spot available for the Steelers, who are playing the Browns this week. In all reality, this is going to have to actually come down to the Buffalo Bills, and a part we're going to have to talk about in the next segment. Because of the factor of the Buffalo Bills, I just don't feel really safe picking the Patriots at all to be in this spot. Now, Miami is down to their third-string quarterback again, Skylar Thompson, though they have signed Mike Glennon if they need to put him in the game at some point. But right now, the way the Jets have been playing, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins do actually win that game. The Steelers could be an interesting scenario unto themselves. It's just, well, they lost to the Browns earlier this year, and that was a Browns team without Deshaun Watson that has actually been playing pretty well as of late, even though they haven't won a lot. So if you really held me down and made me pick a team right now, I would probably have it give a tentative shot to Miami. I just think they have the easiest scenario here.
Stand by. Yeah, I got 2 ready. Roll Fran Talkington, Johnson Baby Shampoo.
You know, when I wore a football suit, I had this shampoo every day, so I used Johnson's. Now that I'm wearing these, I still use Johnson's every day. Doesn't make sense to use anything harsh. Johnson's cleans gently. Everybody can tell you about no more tears, but I can tell you it won't dry out my hair. Leaves it looking thick and healthy. Get Johnson's Baby Shampoo from Johnson & Johnson. It's gentle enough to use every day.
I used to have a partner until Electronic Detective, that computerized whodunit game. It began when Buster Bailey bought a bullet. My partner and those 2 other characters obviously knew it took logic and reasoning. But with over 100,000 possible murder situations, you can't jump to conclusions. A wrong accusation gets you shot. So I ran a check, and sure enough, Lucy Tumble was uptown at the card party, and her prints were on the 45. It all added up. Lucy was the killer, right?
Wrong.
Wrong.
Wrong? We'll see about that. Lucy and I were uptown playing cards. So was Eileen Stella and Pepe Perez. Lucy's prints were on the 45, but only Dina Ricchetti knew whose prints were on the 38. Now, if the 45 was uptown with Lenny Little and the 38 was downtown with Dina Ricchetti, then the killer had to be Eileen Stella. Of course.
Electronic Detective from
Okay, so these are the seeding scenarios, or in other words, these are all the teams that have clinched playoff spots, but as to when and where they are exactly playing is still up in the air. Heck, many of them could still get that all-important number 1 seed and thus get a bye week into the second round. Possibly. Again, the NFC is the easiest one to explain right now, so that's what we're going to be starting with. In a nutshell, the Eagles will clinch the number 1 overall seed with a victory over the Giants, who have also already clinched a wildcard spot, but really can't improve their seeding that much. That being said, should the Eagles lose to the Giants, which is actually a possibility, the Cowboys would get the NFC East with a victory over the Commanders, while the 49ers would probably get the number 1 seed if they defeated the Arizona Cardinals. Should the 49ers lose to the Cardinals and the Cowboys beat the Commanders, then the Cowboys would inherit the number 1 overall seed. If somehow the Eagles, Cowboys, and 49ers all lose and the Minnesota Vikings beat the Chicago Bears, they would actually get the number 1 overall seed. That's really it. I mean, again, there's not too much in the way of seeding that can be altered here. Everyone's pretty locked into where they are. I mean, Tampa Bay has already won the South, so they're in the 4th seed no matter what. They can't improve anything. And the top 2 wildcard seeds are pretty much set. Again, it will either be the Cowboys or the Eagles in that wildcard in the number 4 seed, and the Giants are pretty much locked into the number 5 seed. So it's It's entirely possible the Giants put on their backups for this game against the Eagles, which probably plays more into their favor. So, again, if I had to pick a team to clinch the number one overall seed in this scenario, I'm guessing it's probably going to be the Eagles. Though, admittedly, the Cowboys are going to be a real close second in that aspect because, again, Washington's pretty much out of it, and they're starting their third-string quarterbacks, so there really isn't too much impetus for anything to really happen there, I think. Which means it's now time to move on to the AFC seeding scenarios, and yes, we're going to have to talk about the elephant in the room, which means I am going to reiterate that obviously all of this pales in comparison to the tragic events of Monday and the situation involving Damar Hamlin. So, again, I am not trying to demean that situation in any way. I am just strictly talking about on-the-field matters here. Basically, because the Bills-Bengals game has not been completed or might not ever be completed at this point, I'm still not entirely sure, as there's been no news on that at all. The Kansas City Chiefs are currently slated as the number one overall seed in the AFC. That being said, the Bills could still have something of a claim if the Chiefs were to lose to the Raiders and the Bills were to beat the Patriots. If both the Bills and Chiefs lose and the Bengals were to beat the Ravens, then the Bengals could have a legit claim at the number one overall seed. Though again, because of the events of Monday, a lot of that is still up in the air at this point. Heck, if somehow they just decided to default that game to the Bills or something like that, there's a chance the Ravens could overall win the division and get the number 2 seed. Confused yet? Don't worry, it's going to get even more confusing because, again, as of this recording, the Bengals-Bills game that was supposed to be played on Monday has been postponed, and they're trying to see if they can replay it. This could mean delaying the wild card round a week in order to then have that game be played and then set up the seedings for everything. Or just delaying the AFC part of the wild card round because they don't want to seem like they're giving every team an unfair advantage here. However, that would actually give the NFC a bit of an advantage because then they would actually get a nice 3-week break in between everything to try to fill out the scenario schedules here. And of course, all of this would involve deleting the 1 week off before the Super Bowl and thus eliminating the Pro Bowl skills competition, which I'm sure no one really cares about that much. That being said, there's also a scenario in play right now where they maybe expand the playoffs by one team on both conferences and thus just doing a 16-team tournament like the NBA does or like the NFL did in 1982 with the strike season. Or they declare Bengals-Bills a no contest, award each team a tie, and should the Kansas City Chiefs win on Saturday, which in all likelihood they probably will, the Chiefs would get a choice. They could either A, get the first round bye, or B, get overall home field advantage in the playoffs, with either Buffalo or Cincinnati getting the other option. Basically, Kansas City could still get the week off, but then in the second round have to go to either Buffalo or Cincinnati. Right now, if I had to say the way things are going to play out, I'm guessing that Kansas City is going to get the number one overall seed. I don't know if that means they'll take the bye or the home field advantage, but Kansas City is probably going to be the number one overall seed at this point. I don't see them really being able to play the Bills-Bengals game, so again, we'll just have to see how this all shakes out. But yeah, I'm guessing the Chiefs are going to get the number one overall seed. That's the best I can pick right now. All right, we have an update here. Basically, shortly after I recorded this, news broke that the NFL decided to just completely cancel the Bills-Bengals game, so that matchup will no longer be taking place. Unfortunately, the idea of the seeding or anything involved in that is still very much up to the air at this point, and at least as of this recording, nothing has been settled yet. So, if something else happens, it's happened. Okay, back to everything ending here. And now we have an update to the updates update. Basically, as I'm recording this, just after I recorded that update, in fact, news broke that the NFL owners are holding a meeting tomorrow, Friday, January 6th, where they're going to hammer out the seating ideas out. Basically, I'm sorry for getting redundant there. But basically, I'm taking this to mean they're probably going to wind up expanding the playoffs to 8 teams per conference and just ditching the bye week. I think that's probably the most likely scenario here. They'll hammer out some bonuses and everything for the players so that they're not too upset over all of this, and we'll see how this all shakes out. And that should hopefully be it for now. I don't really know anything else to say, except this is definitely the last update I'm doing. So anything else that happens, again, happens.
Susie Chappy has changed her name.
Call me Susie Chapstick.
Hey, Susie Chapstick.
This is real chapstick weather, so chapstick is the only name for me.
Chapstick lip balm helps keep wind and cold away from your lips.
Susie Chapstick!
Keeps the natural moisture in. Helps heal chapped lips, too.
So when it's chapstick weather, just remember me, Susie Chapstick.
Why does a machine built to run slow down for sugar-free light cola?
Taste.
Why does an engine rarely idle stop for sugar-free light?
Taste.
The 7-Up company blended NutraSweet into sugar-free light cola for the sweetness of sugar with no sugar, for a taste even people who don't need to diet love. Why does this machine cool its engine with sugar-free light?
Taste.
New sugar-free light cola with NutraSweet, for someone not necessarily on a diet. From the 7-Up company.
Wednesday, the fall guy meets Elvira, mistress of the dark. Then on Dynasty, Alexa's trial begins.
What are you trying to do to me, liar?
Guilty or innocent, Stephen holds the key.
I know who killed Mark Jennings.
All starting at 8, 7 Central. Wednesday.
Well, that was a lot. Kind of wish I had Wallace Shawn from The Princess Bride queued up during the AFC playoff picture there. Anyway, moving on to other matters. The next video is in all likelihood going to be the finale for Willow, the last 2 episodes. Then probably, again, depending on when the NFL playoffs are set to start, if at all, we'll be covering that at some point. Then after that is the random trait review on Grim Fairy Tales Werewolves Unleashed. And then the week after that is when we're going to be doing our big streaming catch-up, starting with Season 2 of Mighty Ducks Game Changers and concluding with Season 3 of The Mighty Ones. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember that you can support my work at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions. Also, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, and ring that notification bell so that way you can be alerted to further videos.